Hi, this is Rod Saunders from Jew and Greek. I'd like to talk a bit today about the debate between young earth creationism and old earth creationism. The young earthers believe that the earth is only 6 to 10,000 or so years old, and the old earthers believe what science says, that the earth is about 4.5 billion years old. Both views have some variations within their respective camps, but for the most part, this is what we're talking about. My take on this is probably going to upset people on both sides of the issue, but that's nothing new for me. First of all, let's establish that nobody is going to read the Genesis account of creation and come away with an old earth interpretation. Some might take it as an allegory, but even that won't lead to any particular time frame for creation. The idea that anybody would read the Genesis account and understand it to mean billions of years instead of 1 week is pretty far-fetched. In fact, old earth creationism didn't really surface until the 18th century and the Age of Enlightenment, when the world of science flourished and the view of Earth's age began to change. As a result, many creationists felt compelled to come up with views on creationism that could make the Bible compatible with science. This produced several old earth theories, including the gap theory and the apparent age theory. The gap theory is based on the view that Genesis 1:2 indicates that the earth became void, probably as a result of the rebellion of Lucifer, and there was a lengthy time frame wherein God restored the earth to a habitable state. That time frame was undetermined and could thus fit in with whatever the prevailing view was in the world of science. This view was popularized in the 20th century by the Scofield Bible. The apparent age theory says that God created the universe with the appearance of age, just as Adam was created fully mature rather than being born and growing into adulthood. This theory appealed to some, but was rejected by most because it appeared to make God deceptive. In the late 19th century, Christian fundamentalism emerged in resistance to the trend toward scientific authority rather than biblical authority. It called for a return to a literal understanding of the Genesis account of creation. The problem is, we have compelling evidence that the universe is billions of years old. The biggest hurdle for the young earthers to overcome is distant starlight. If the light from a star or galaxy millions or billions of light years from Earth is visible, that means that they've been there for millions or billions of years, because a light year is the distance that light travels in a year. So how can the universe be less than 10,000 years old if the light from those stars is just now getting here? And if those stars are millions of billions of years old, how can we believe that the Earth and the universe are less than 10,000 years old? This creates quite a dilemma for those of us who believe the Bible but also value science. So where do I stand on the issue? Well, to be honest, I've shifted my position on this a couple of times. When I was younger, I took the literal fundamentalist view regarding Genesis, but as I got older, I became convinced that the Big Bang Theory and Darwinian evolution were settled science, and I identified myself as a theistic evolutionist. I still believed that God created everything, but I figured the Genesis account was an allegory and that God worked through evolution to create man and cosmic evolution to create the universe. But a few years ago, a good friend of mine challenged me on that. He began sharing information with me that totally transformed my thinking along these lines. The truth is, I had never really studied these topics. I just assumed that the scientists who told us these things knew what they were talking about. But the more I dug into these issues, the more I began to see how weak the secularist views are. I have now come to the conclusion that both the Genesis account and the scientific account on the creation of Earth are correct. Now, I'm sure that sounds like a total cop-out. But hear me out. Naturally, it sounds like a complete contradiction to say that both are true. But in the world of physics, we have Einstein's theory of general relativity, which tells us that there is order and predictability within the laws of physics in the universe, And at the same time, we have quantum field theory, which tells us that on a subatomic level, things behave in a random, unpredictable manner. Einstein rejected quantum mechanics at first, insisting that God doesn't roll dice with the universe. But eventually, he had no choice but to come around because the evidence for it was overwhelming. He ended up spending the last 20 years of his life trying to discover how both theories could be true when they appear to be completely contradictory. Well, he died in 1955, frustrated and unsuccessful over the matter. And here we are, over 60 years later, and they still don't have an answer. For a while, it looked like string theory might resolve the matter, but the more they look into it, the more confusing and complicated string theory becomes. So what I'm getting at is this. If general relativity and quantum physics can both be true when they appear totally contradictory, why can't old Earth and young Earth creationism both be true? The fact is, we don't know what happened in the distant past. It's not observable. We don't know that the speed of light is a constant. We don't know that the rate of expansion of the universe has been consistent. For that matter, we don't even know that the laws of physics that govern the universe have always been what they are now. And then there's time dilation. You know, if you have a watch at sea level, it's going to show the passing of time slightly faster than if you were to take that watch to the top of Mount Everest. Why? Because elevation affects gravity, and gravity affects time. We've known for years that astronauts don't age as fast in space as we age on the Earth. Well, if the universe is expanding as we go forward in time, that means that it would contract as we go back in time. In fact, that's where the Big Bang Theory comes from. So if matter was more densely packed in the past, that would naturally affect gravity, and as a result, the perception of the passing of time would have been altered. I believe the Bible. Let me make that very clear. I believe the Genesis account of creation, but at the same time, I see problems that we have yet to resolve in order to reconcile the Genesis account with many of the discoveries in the cosmos, just as we have yet to reconcile general relativity and quantum field theory. So I don't get all hung up on the question of how old the Earth and the universe are. I trust that somehow there's a logical explanation, and hopefully one day we'll find it. In the meantime, let's all try to get along and understand that this isn't a deal breaker when it comes to salvation. Thanks for watching.